Mara is about to do something very, very interesting, and I'm going to explain what I mean in just a moment, guys. But do keep in mind that Mara has earnings coming out next week, scheduled for the 26th post market. So we need to keep that in mind going forward. Right now, consensus is pretty high for the stock earnings, but I'm very, very interested in see what they're going to say for the earnings call that comes after the earnings report. So, guys, remember everything in this video is just my own personal opinion, not financial advice. I am not always 100% right on my trades, but I do tend to stick with them until I am proven wrong. But before we do get started in Bitcoin or Mara, it's very important to look at Bitcoin and what we could be potentially looking at in the short term and going forward as a way to better understand what Mara can potentially do, right? So, as we all know, the jobless claims report in the US today came out. It was expected to be 115,000. Instead, it was 119,000 claims for jobless, and we saw the price pump. Right, that's because a tougher job economy makes it easier for the Federal Reserve to lower rates. Right, and that's what we want. We want to see that negative pressure, so we can see positive pressure for Bitcoin to the upside. The only thing to keep in mind, though, and how this can affect Mara is that right now, regardless of this news, Bitcoin rallied very nicely from filling in this fib supportive extension area perfectly, like we've seen many, many times in the past. We've seen this happen many times, and we rallied up perfectly past the 120 moving average back into the resistance area represented by these liquidity walls at the top of this sideways channel. What this means is that now it will make sense for Bitcoin as the RSI is showing that it's overbought. It will make sense for Bitcoin to come back down and try to find support somewhere halfway or at the bottom of this channel. Once again, we have supportive liquidity walls down here, represented also by this fib supportive extension area. So the way, or the first things we're looking at is we can easily push it up higher and finally start breaking into this next resistance area that will lead way to our next target area for bullish structure confirmation. That would then lead us to the next leg up, making a new all-time high for Bitcoin. But the only thing you need to keep in mind is that every time we have enough volume one direction, we tend to fill in any gaps to the downside potentially, right? So right now we don't have any clear imbalance gaps. We do have one right here, super minor, nothing to be super concerned about, but it is enough to potentially move the price back down towards the low 98K level. But at the same time, the 120 moving average tends to act as support in the future as well. Just like we've seen up here, Bitcoin went up, found resistance towards the top of the channel, and then of the overall channel right here, found resistance at the top, and it came back down to the 120 moving average. So we can easily see that happen once again. But the reason this is very important to keep an eye on, especially with Mara, is that Mara does not 100% follow Bitcoin, but it is very highly influenced by Bitcoin. But what we have here is that if you guys were keeping up with my previous update videos, I said that it will make sense for Mara to come down back into this red area because we were up here in this resistance. What I ended up pointing out was, well, if we have a swing high right here, we come back down, find support, okay, that's fine. But then we start moving up higher. We couldn't build enough momentum to match up with this swing high once again, and we just couldn't, reach it to potentially go higher. So I said it makes sense for this to come back down back into the red area. What ended up happening was it came down near the red area, and it began pushing a little bit higher. The following video, I said that, well, I would like it to actually dip into the red and watch candles flow into the red a bit more and get near this long-term supportive ascending support line, which has acted as support in the past many times. There's one right here where it kept dipping through it a little bit, but it held strong, and then we saw it happen there as well. So what we have here, right, is at this time we have more of a double dip into the supportive area. Unlike here where we saw just one dip and one dip here, it was sort of a two dip, but I'm going to consider it one. So it's very important to understand that these double dips into the red area while respecting the support line are very, very strong buying opportunities. As Bitcoin begins to consolidate and show a little bit of weakness throughout the rest of this week, because it will make sense for me to see the price come down, try to correct itself a bit before potentially moving up higher into the blue area. So the reason this is very significant is because this can allow Mara to begin consolidating at discounted levels. So I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, tomorrow, Friday, we begin to see the stock here for Mara begin to maybe retest the moving average once again, maybe trying to consolidate around this area a little bit more and build up more like bullish momentum within this red area, which is a very strong accumulation area in my opinion. Any dip within these red areas, no matter how far down it goes, will be very quickly recovered. It'll be a very quick, like just a bunch of V-shape recoveries within the red area like we've seen in the past, and like we sort of saw today as well. So it would not last very long. This is a very, very strong buying opportunity every time it's in the red area like it happened earlier today. And we may see the price hold it for a little bit longer before pushing up higher. This accumulation area does range from 15.80 cents, $15.80 all the way down to 13.60. So again, very strong accumulation area and a great reason to purchase at these levels because we are very discounted. We have been trading downwards for a while. And every time we see these big downturns like we've seen in the past, we begin to form a consolidation sort of like format on the bottom of these channels. Now, more downside is not very, or significant downside is not very likely, mostly because every low we've seen from previous swing lows have been very not high volume. They have not been very significant. So there is a lot of bullish momentum forming in the stock, in my opinion, and we will begin to move higher soon enough. Now, when it comes to the short-term structure that we see here, after finally coming down from higher prices, what this means is that we can very, very much soon enough be trading back in the $20 range where these imbalance areas lie. These imbalance areas tend to act as a magnet, and they also tend to act as a very strong resistance. We've seen that form right here where it came up to fill in the imbalance gap, and then it kept falling back down. Now, I anticipate Mara to continue moving in a wide, very fluctuative sideways pattern for a while. So it would make sense for Mara to begin moving up after getting that second dip into the red area, strong accumulation area, I should say. Now, going forward, though, we need to keep an eye on two resistance levels before we can move up to the major resistance levels, which will be the top of the premium section of this overall structure that we're moving in sideways. And then we can continue seeing Bitcoin go up into the 20s and then back down below the 20s, and it will just keep fluctuating up and down from the 20s over and below it for quite a bit. It can last a while. And we also have those earnings report coming out soon, right? So it's very important to keep an eye on that. And also, before we can move up here, we have the two levels of resistance, which is this descending resistance line that I have here in white, and then the blue 120 moving average that I have right here. These can act as short-term resistance. What I mean by that is that it can come down to it can come up to either of these, show a little bit of weakness, like here where it went up, showed some weakness, but then we can soon enough retest it and begin moving up higher from there. So just to keep it simple, guys, again, strong accumulation area, and it's a good idea to begin shaving positions just in case we do have a rejection that will push it back down to the support line, maybe doing a third dip back into the red area before we can potentially build up enough momentum. Again, that's going to be very influenced by the earnings report next week before we can potentially move up higher into these premium section of the channel, premium side of the channel, resistance areas, which I do believe we will begin filling quite soon. But I do expect a little bit more consolidation within this area as we potentially get rejected by these resistance lines and then come back down, maybe a third dip into the red area, and then finding support once again at that support line, and then before we can move up higher. So I hope this made sense, guys. I hope you guys understand the upside potential for Mara, because when it does begin to pop, it pops very, very quickly. And we've seen this happen. We've seen a channel like this form very, very similarly in around mid of 2024. So we can easily see that happen again, as Bitcoin begins to continue to do a little bit more consolidation before it begins to have a break of structure and move into the next leg up that it will soon enough be in. So yeah, I hope this video made sense, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.